What's up, YouTube? It's your friendly neighborhood gamer, your host, Coach Key, and welcome to Legends and Dice Cafe, where we learn about tabletop RPGs from old school to modern and do lots and lots of solo gameplay. Back with my weekly video like I do on Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you a few world building tips that I'm learning along the process as I'm creating my world Ashra 2. And this could be for your own solo homebrew world or your campaign that you're creating for your players as well. And I'm not a pro at this, so I'm just sharing with you from my experience, and I'm still learning along the way, and that's exactly what I'm doing, sharing with you what I'm learning along the way, along my journey. So hopefully it helps you out. And at the end of the video, I'll also share with you some cool, awesome resources that I use or have been using within creating my own adventures. As always, don't forget to make sure you hit that thumbs up button to help YouTube push it out to more and more people, because then YouTube thinks that I'm pretty freaking cool and they'll push it out even more. And if you'd like to support the channel further beyond what you already do, then find us on Patreon at Legends and Dice Cafe and subscribe to the channel. This is a pretty big deal. The channel has hit 2,000 subscribers. That is a huge deal. I've been doing the channel for almost a year now, and honestly, I didn't expect to hit 1,000. Honestly, I wasn't going to be surprised if I didn't hit that 1,000 subscribers until I was a year into the channel. So to be going on a year and a few months and to have hit 2,000 subscribers is a huge thing, and it means a lot. So I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate the support. It's making me emotional right now because I really do appreciate the comments, the shares, the likes. I appreciate you all assisting on boosting the channel to more and more people. So thank you so much. So yeah, let's go ahead and let's jump into it. Tip number one, and again, this is the process that I went through, and sometimes it'll be different for different people as far as our process when it comes to world building. One of the first things I did when working on creating my own world was I created the actual name of the world. I messed around with a bunch of different words and stuff, and I came up with the world Ashra 2. And I wanted to be a place where science and magic kind of go hand in hand, which, and in reality, that's kind of what I believe to a certain extent. We'll get into that at a later date. The next step I did was create different lands. So I have 5 different lands, and I picked 5 because I like the number 5. So I picked 5 different lands, and I made a name for each of those individual lands. And I made a name for each of those individual lands, which I'll share with you again at a later date. But once I got there, I was so confused. I'm like, well, what do I do now? I'm like, how do I create this huge world? Where do I start? I started to feel so overwhelmed. And then I thought to myself, as an artist, I know the best way to get started doing something or to learn something is to actually start. So I was like, you know what? So I thought maybe I would start with one land. And I figured the land that I would start with was Shinjisu. And then from there, I would just start on a little speck in that land, create a town, a city, or a village, and then allow it to expand and grow from there. My advice is to start off small. A lot of people work different ways, and you're going to find your way that works perfectly for you. Started with a small village or a small town, and I named that town Sin2. And that was the very first town that I created in my world. And I created it to start my solo adventure using Cairn, a super, super light OSR rule system. And this is what I'm currently running solo. This is one of the games that I'm running solo. I was working on some content for the channel, and I don't know why I thought about solo play, but solo play seems to be where it's at for me. I enjoy it, and it reminds me so much of being a game master, which I absolutely love being a game master. I love the work and the prep work that comes into it. And it's even better when the players actually appreciate all the time and effort that you put into the work, because a lot of work goes into being a game master, a judge, a dungeon master, and so on and so on. I was trying to figure out an adventure to create here, so I figured I would start in my world so that way I could allow these adventures to flesh out my world. So I started solo. That's another way to build your world, is to start playing it, whether you play in it solo or you use it to create adventures for your players. So starting a solo adventure forced me to actually sit down and start somewhere with my world. And the first town that I came up with was Sin2. So Sin2 is the town that I'm running Karen currently through. One of the best ways that I have learned from my own experience that I enjoy is to help flesh out your world, is to actually just play in your world. If you're not familiar with Karen, I have two, so I think I'm on session 3, I think, of Karen, and I'll be dropping a new session very, very, very soon. It's a super cool light rule system book that is fantastic for a new GM or an older GM. So I'm kind of like a newer GM, but still an older GM in age. You know what I mean? But I've been GMing game mastering for a year now, and I'm currently getting ready to prepping to run Dragonbane. Then the next step was I wanted to continue to create and flesh out my world, since I know playing in my world helped me to start to flesh out my world. So the next step was to create my one shot and to create it inside of my world. So I've got Sin2 already. The next step was for me I didn't want my players to play in the same world of Sin2 since I'm already using my solo play to expand and flesh out that world. So I figured I would start expanding and fleshing out the world around Sin2. So the next step was, where would I do my one-shot adventure? So I created a little farm right outside of Sin2, Wishu Farm. And I changed the map from this one to this one because I wasn't ready for my players to explore the rest of the map. So I'm like, let me go ahead and make it a smaller map, specifically to the area that they're going to be adventuring in. I ran my one shot for the very first time. It's called the Red Book. I plan on typing it up and making it so that the public has access to it very, very soon. But I figured running it would actually help me to add on to it, and that's exactly what it did. So I ran my one shot last week for the very first time. It is going to have to go into a part 2 because for the most part, timing wise, I can only run my games about 2 hours at a time each session. And I personally, I don't mind 2 to 3 hour sessions, to be honest. Adventuring into my own world, I've already got the capital of Shinjisu, which is Shinji. I have a small town, which is Sin2. And now I have a temple along with a forest, along with the name of a lake, and a local farm that is right next door to Sin2. And that's all just for me creating 2 adventures within my world, which is fantastic. So that's a great way. Again, adventuring into your own world is a great way to expand. So I started out with nothing, but then once I honestly just started small, and look what I've already expanded to around. And step 3 I have is your maps. You can definitely visualize it in your mind, but I personally enjoy moving my pieces or moving my tokens or moving my actual physical pieces on a board. I think it's pretty cool. I personally like it. This was my very first map that I did for my Karen solo adventure in my world in the town of Sin2. And I'm pretty sure I created almost close to a year ago. You've got a lot of resources out there. Again, you don't necessarily need a map, but I like that visual representation. So you can either draw a map or you can use a bunch of different programs. I personally enjoy Incarnate. It's been pretty easy. You've got a lot of options when it comes to maps. You can sketch your map out like I did. You can use these fantastic programs. I'm only familiar with Incarnate, but you've got tons of different other programs out there that you can use to generate really cool maps. And then there's also another idea that I learned is you take a bunch of dice or you take a bunch of beans or just a bunch of small little things and just let them go on a piece of paper and then just draw around them. And that's a great way to create a map as well. It doesn't have to be all high tech and stuff. But me personally, I like to do my maps a certain way. So you saw my very first map. Let me show you most recent maps that I've created when I got my bigger sketchbook over the past maybe a few months ago. This is my most recent map. I enjoyed my first Karen map, but I kind of like where my skills are going. And this is the very first map that I did in my new, super cool, larger than normal sketchbook. Plenty of resources, and there are tons of free maps out there you can grab from Google, especially if you're just using it for your games. If you're considering drawing maps, I've got 2 cool books I was going to say for the end of the video, but let me share them with you. Fantasy Map Maker, How to Draw RPG Cities for Gamers and Fans. This has taught me a lot of great things. And then I also purchased another one. And this one is for cartography. So these 2 are really, really great books. And both of them are under $20. Now, number 4, I kind of worked backwards, okay? So you would think that I probably would have had history of my world before I went through creating the lands, creating the names of it, creating a couple maps, starting my adventures and my adventures with players and my adventures solo adventuring inside of my world. You would think that I would have had this information by now. And that is the history of my world. Why was it there? What is it so what is the significance? What is the importance? What makes my world so special? So a lot of different things when it came to the history. And I didn't think about that until I created my one shot. And as I was typing it up, I'm like, I want to be able to give the game master a little bit more. So the history of my world, that is definitely working backwards, I guess. But after creating my one shot, it sparked some creativity and helped me to create a small intro to the foundation of where Astra 2 came from and how it came into existence and what's so special about it. So, history of your world. And the last thing, I'm going to just share with you a few resources on what I use to help to flesh out my world as well when it comes to whether it's names of the towns, locations, or NPCs. So at the current moment, Sintu, I love the Japanese culture, I love the Chinese culture. So when it comes to Shinji-su, I wanted to have kind of pull from those areas to create my world. Of course, if you can see from the inspiration of the map that I created, if you saw it a little earlier, I'm going to show you what I use to help to create some of the NPCs in my world, in my solo adventure inside of my world, as well as in my one shot, The Red Book. This is one of my absolute favorite books. I know there are tons of other books out there as well. So I guess what I'm trying to say is grabbing a book that's about non-player characters with information about them that you can just throw into your worlds, again, whether you're doing solo or whether you're running an adventure for your players. So these Game Masters books, if you don't know, if you're new to the channel, I've got tons of these Game Masters books. But I'm going to show you the others that I actually use or have been using. So this is definitely one of them. It's got some really good information in it. They're packed with a good bit amount of information. And it also shows you how to create your own NPCs on top of that. So I think this is a fantastic book. So this is one of the resources that I've been using in my adventures. And another one of the Game Masters books that I've been actually using in my games is the Game Master's book, Villains and Minions and Their Tactics. This is also a fantastic book. I ran Dragon Heist and I finished Dragon Heist. I mixed some of the bad guys from the actual Dragon Heist books and I threw some of these bad boys in it. It's a really cool book, definitely worth checking out. Again, also under $20. And also another one of my favorite books that I've been using in my games and inspiration for solo play as well. This one right here. I love puzzles and traps, and this one has some really fantastic and cool traps. And it also has riddles and stuff. And Tasha's Cauldron. I've also pulled some pretty cool, interesting puzzles, and I've used some of the puzzles and in Tasha's Cauldron to actually create my own puzzles and traps. So, but these are fantastic books, definitely something to look into. And I have something else that I was using or have been using for my NPCs that I've been throwing into my world, especially into my one shot. NPC Portraits deck. It has a bunch of different miscellaneous cards, NPCs on the back of them. It actually shows you lots of information about them, and that's what I used in my one shot. I took a few of these out that I was thinking and I thought were super cool, and I just left them out. I didn't turn this part over right here where it has all the information on it, where it has a little bit of information about them. That I created on the fly, but I kept these out just so I could look at them and describe them to my players, which was pretty cool. And shouts out to my friend Robin for sending this. She sent me a couple of other things, and I meant to show you when I was talking about the maps. There's something else that I use for my maps and for my map inspirations when I'm actually sketching them out. And I'll show you in a sec. But these are one of the things that she sent me, and these are super fantastic. So thank you, Robin, for taking the time out to think about me. And on top of that, sending me some really, really cool things. So these are fantastic. I'm not exactly sure where to grab them from, but like I said, there are so many resources out there when it comes to creating non-player characters or having lists to throw into the game. But that's definitely something to look into to help flesh out your world and help it to come alive. And I'm going to show you just a couple more books that I've been using. The Dungeon Master's Guide for 2014 Dungeon Master's Guide has been very helpful when it comes to creating my world, and it has some really awesome tables inside of it, as well as magical items in here too. So this is a pretty cool book. I also did a very quick review, so definitely check that out on my page. And of course, I've already mentioned Tasha's Cauldron I use for a lot of the puzzles and a few other things. It's got some pretty cool resources in there for a game master. And Xanathar's Guide to Everything. I've been using this as well. It has a lot of fantastic tables for monsters, different encounters in like the forest, in the mountains, in the water. And so I definitely use this for inspiration when it comes to throwing monsters in my game. It has a lot of other things in here. And I've done a review on Xanathar's Guide to Everything, as well as Tasha's Cauldron. These are really cool books. I've also used to create like names of locations and NPCs. This one right here, Loner, another solo RPG. This is in Quaidani? Quaidani? I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, but it is a solo game, but it has some really fantastic tables inside of it. Tables for adventure seats. I mean, it's a great book. And I did a review on this recently, so definitely check it out. This is an awesome book for a solo artist, and honestly, this for a solo gamer. And honestly, this is a great book for a game master. This is one of the books that I've been using in my one shot for inspiration for different things. So definitely check it out. Well worth it. $10 book. Pretty cool. And Knave 2E. This is an awesome book full of great tables for a solo gamer and for a game master. Definitely worth looking into. If you have the money to spare on it, it's definitely worth grabbing. And that's going to be it for my tips and tricks when it comes to world building and a few of the resources that I've been using to help me in my world building journey as well as in my adventure creating journey. So, as always, don't forget to make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to comment and subscribe. Turn on your notifications so you don't miss out on any of the cool content that I post on Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I also go live now, playing some of my favorite video games. I haven't started going live playing solo games yet, but soon. But in the meantime, in between time, I'm enjoying building my Minecraft survival world. So definitely come and check it out. I normally stream on Sunday and or Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to about 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I get on there between 9 and 9:30, depending on what's going on within my family and our household and stuff, getting everything settled in for the night. You have a fantastic Friday. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a great start to your week, and I'll see you here same time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time,